Mayonnaise is a simple ingredient with a critical mission in professional kitchens. So why is selecting the right mayonnaise so complex? From extra heavy duty to real super premium, the category terminology causes unnecessary confusion. And the lack of standardization can lead to disappointing results, dissatisfied customers, and costly waste. Visit venturafoods.com/mayo needs to help you find the right mayonnaise for your operation.
Hi there, I'm Pat Kobe, Senior Menu Editor at Restaurant Business and a host of Menu Talk. This week's episode features Doug Keane, chef partner in Cyrus in the Sonoma County town of Geyserville, California. Cyrus was previously located in Healdsburg, California, but during the pandemic, a burned-out Keane did not want to reopen it as a traditional fine dining restaurant with an upscale tasting menu. So he sat down and figured out how to change the business model and the staffing model to provide a living wage to all team members and a distinctive dining experience for guests. At the new Cyrus, the evening is choreographed like a dinner party in someone's home, starting with drinks and bites in the Bubble Lounge, then proceeding into the kitchen where guests interact with the chef over a first course. And then they proceed into the dining room where they sit down for 3 or 4 courses, ending in the chocolate room for dessert. And every team member makes a salary of $75,000. Listen as Chef Keane describes the rewarding reinvention of Cyrus. Here today with Douglas Keane, who is the chef partner at Cyrus in Geyserville, California. Welcome, Doug.
Hi, Pat. Thanks for having me.
Great. Well, thanks for joining me. I'm excited to talk with you. So let's begin by you telling me about the original Cyrus, which you opened in Healdsburg, California.
Yeah, we opened in 2005. We had about a 7.5, 8-year run there. It was, Nick and I'm my business partner, we had decided that it was going to be a fine dining destination out in the wine country. Healdsburg was actually sleepy at the time. And really what it was everything that Nick and I had seen in our careers, but with our little tweak on it. So it was a tasting menu, but it was, our version of it. We had champagne and caviar carts and cheese carts and Mignardises carts. And it was a traditional type of service. A great team. We had an amazing run. And, due to a landlord dispute where we settled a lawsuit, we got a bunch of money and we closed down and we're like, all right, what are we doing next after this really epic run? But what I realized during is that I was kind of broken. I was kind of beat up. I didn't love the industry anymore. And I didn't know why until I got to take the break, but it was just a very dysfunctional industry. So while we plotted our next course, we kind of reevaluated, like, what is it that we don't like about this business and what can we actually change? And so we took a stab at changing the whole concept of the dining, where at the new one, we moved people around. And we took a whole stab at the concept of the staffing model and the business model. And was like, all right, it could be. Let's try and see if we can raise some money if people believe in us and find the ideal location. And I guess the answer is, like, be careful what you wish for, because sometimes dreams come true. So I'm sitting in, like, the most amazing, beautiful restaurant I've ever been a part of in the middle of Geyserville with a team that, all makes above $75,000 and works 4-day work weeks. And we are churning out like the best food that I've ever been a part of in my career. So it's kind of like, all right, well, yes, it happened. So we're pretty lucky for that.
Well, I think it's more than luck. It's a lot of talent too, and perseverance.
I hire really well.
Yeah. Well, so when you opened, tell me about the model now. It's really non-traditional and very experiential. So I think everyone would like to hear what it's about.
Yeah, the business model is probably the easiest part to describe. That so at the first Cyrus that you asked about, we had about 56 employees, and it was traditional. Waiters made their tips and cooks made barely nothing, worked crazy hours, and every 12 months they would get burnt out and leave, and the waiters would stay for 8 years, and it just didn't make sense to me. So, and I also saw that there was times that, like, the front of house was super busy. The back of house wasn't busy. Then it would flip, and then the dishwashers would get slammed. And I was like, there's an inefficiency here. Why can't we work together? Why can't cooks run food? Why can't waiters help prep, help plate sometimes when they're not doing anything. And so I kind of started thinking about it. So we were like, all right, we're going to start backwards with this business model. How many people can we afford to pay above a true living wage? And we came up with the idea that $75,000 was what people needed to make to be able to live up here, to actually be able to afford a place to live. Not just like have 6 families sitting, sharing a place, their own place. They could live. We said we're going to have 4-day work weeks, which we figured in a couple months. We also said we're going to have 3 weeks off. So that was the model to change the staffing model. And that was really not just about being a good person. It was about making a healthier business, right? So that there's a profit margin. Like when COVID happened, everyone ran out of money right away. Restaurants were the first ones to hear. That's all you heard about, like close, no money. That's because there's no cash flow in restaurants, because a good month is a 5% profit. And so I was like, we got to fix this. We got to make it so it's a healthier business. So in times of like, there's always crazy stuff going on in the world where it makes people like, I don't know if I want to spend money on a big anniversary dinner or go out for an expensive meal. And so you got to be able to ride out some of those times. So that was the business aspect of it. Now, the fun, sexy part of it was doing a traditional tasting menu at the first Cyrus. There's like this amazing gift they'll give you when they come up to Sonoma County. They give you their gift of time, that dinner is the experience for the night. It's the entertainment. It's not like Manhattan or San Francisco. There's a lot of other things to do. So sometimes dinner is a stop before a play, a stop before another party. This is the entertainment. So they give you 3 hours of their time or more at some places. And so I took advantage of that at the last one because it was a big gift. But what I would hear a lot was, I love this experience, but I hate sitting the same table for 3 hours. I feel like I'm stiff. I can't move. My back gets sweaty. Like it would be whatever people would say. And I started to think about it, and it came to me a couple different ways. One, my favorite experiences are at people's house, where you walk into their living room or their front porch and you have a drink or a bite. And then you actually move to their kitchen while they actually get dinner ready. And then you go sit with them in their living room or their dining room and have dinner. And I was like, those are my favorite places. You're in someone's home. You get to see the whole place. I was in Kyoto in a kaiseki restaurant, and I was in this beautiful room for the whole meal. And they kept telling me about all the other rooms in the 200-year-old house, that like, the one upstairs has this beautiful bonsai tree that's 250 years old. The other one has a amazing tapestry. I never got to see them because someone else rented them for the night. That's the concept, is you rent a, and I was like, wait. This is coming together. What if I can move you into different rooms and you always got to see something cool, but it was based off of being in someone's house? So that's what we did. We take 12 people at a time. We bring them into the Bubbles Lounge and greet them, give them a glass of champagne or a martini off the cart or a cocktail or a glass of water if that's all they want. We give them like a small bite. Like right now it's summer, so we have this amazing gazpacho consomme that they get to chill, a little drop of liquid nitrogen in it so it chills and it smokes. And they get to kind of just take in the scene. And the one difference between the first and the second Cyrus is a sense of place. It's really, really hard to get a place in the middle of the vineyards, in the middle of agriculture in Sonoma County, because they're very protective of putting commercial things in the middle of agriculture. If you can build a winery because you're picking grapes and making wine, but you can't put a restaurant. Rightfully so. We were able to find, we really wanted to be, Cyrus was named after Cyrus Alexander, who founded the Alexander Valley. We wanted to be out in the valley. And so we looked and looked and looked. And because of the zoning of this building that we found, that originally was a prune packing plant because there was plums instead of grapes here a long time ago. It was a commercially zoned business, and we were allowed to get a use for a restaurant. So it was like our dream came true. And it's also perched off the ground, so you're like 10 feet above the vines. So you look out over the sea of grapes. So we gave you a sense of place so that in the first part, you could actually sit there and look out and be like, I'm in wine country. I'm in Sonoma, and these are the grapes that are grown here. This is where the land is growing all this gorgeous produce. So you get that beautiful sense of space. And then we bring you into the kitchen where I am right now. And it's designed like a really fun dining room kitchen where it's very residential. But it's also in back. It's industrial. It's a kitchen. It's just designed well. The architects from Olsen Kundig were just brilliant in how they helped me lay it out. And so you feel like you're in my kitchen, but you're in a home, and we cook in front of you. And we have 12 seats here at the table, but you also get to get up and walk through the kitchen and take a look and talk to the chefs and get a bite or two at the end. And so you're here for about 45 minutes. And then we take you out to the dining room and you go to your party. So if you came with a friend, or a couple of friends, you would have your own table at that point, and you're looking out over this gorgeous glass dining room that sits above the vineyards, and you're there for as long as you want. So if you want to power through the last 4 or 5 courses, you can. But if you want to sit there for 2 hours and linger, you can. You can also take a walk out into the gardens. that we have the trees that are planted and take a look. There's a fire pit for people to sit at if they want to. And it's just a magical place. It was our dream to do that, and we're actually pulling it off. We're doing the food. We take the food really, really seriously and the service seriously. But we don't take ourselves too seriously. So you're all, I've got acoustic rock playing. There's a bunch of Chris Cornell going in here, and we get to talk, we get to joke with the guest, and then we give you, in our opinion, some really refined food that hopefully gives you a sense of place, but also kind of takes you to a different place where you were when you walked in.
So do you have, so it's 12 people per night then that you do?
No,
okay.
It's, we do between 36, we do 3 to 4 seatings a night. So we seat in an hour. So at 5 o'clock or 5:30, the first seating will start, come in, the bubbles come into the kitchen. And then at 6:30 or 6, depending on what night it is, the next seating will come in and we rotate this through. So the dining room actually can seat everybody. Sometimes there's a full dining room. Sometimes there's just a couple tables at the end. But we're actually allowed to, have everyone there, which is nice. So, it's got that feeling of a dining room at some point.
And tell me about the chocolate room. That's like the last stop on.
So there is a secret room at the end of dinner where we get up and we invite you, and you may or may not have walked past it in the beginning and didn't see it. Maybe not. But you get welcomed into this chocolate room where there's 500 pounds of flowing chocolate in a wall, a river of chocolate. And you get to look at your dining companion, tell them you love them, make a wish, throw some chocolate coins into the fountain, have a little bite. So at the first one, we had like a candy cart that we would roll out to you. And then we would send out these little Krispy Kreme donuts basically at the end too when the check came down. And I saw this, we put so much effort into this, and people would kind of like just take a bunch of candies and take them home. It was kind of like, one, it was a lot of labor, and I'm not sure we got the bang for the buck with it. And then two, it was like, I'm not sure, like I needed to do that. I could give you something magical. So I invested in this machine that we dreamt of, got someone that could build it. And it's something that no one else has. And it's funny, it's cheeky, it's silly, it's magical. And that's what I wanted. I wanted you to leave with a smile and be like, oh man, this is pretty cool. And if it's your anniversary, we'll put a happy anniversary and a light on it. We have like a gobo light. We can customize it, or we can say happy birthday. And it's pretty fun. My girlfriend's daughter was graduating from high school and going to college. And I was able to get the college that she's going to. It's a class of, 2029 or whatever when she's graduated. So you can custom. So it's pretty fun. It's just a fun way to like leave with fine dining gets a little stuffy at times. And I just really didn't want that. I wanted to be like, I'm not very stuffy, but I like to do this type of food. So I wanted to kind of feel like you were at my house. And the chocolate room was just a silly way to be like, if Willy Wonka and the Michelin Man had a baby, this would be it.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, so did you actually take any of the dishes you did originally and translate them in some way or adapt them?
There's a couple that have made it that have never left my side. There's a lobster dish that I've done since I was the chef at Jardiniere. And it's like a Thai basil emulsion with cilantro and mint, chilled lobster, avocado, melon, or whatever's in season. And that one is still on the bar menu. We've run it in the dining journey, and people love it, and I love that people love it. But I'm kind of trying to stay away from them. There's a Billy Bee soup that I stole from L'Espinasse that was stolen from Maxime's that I do a version of that has almost always been on the menu. And it's funny, when I take it off, I get some complaints from regulars. So we actually keep a little bit bagged in the freezer so that when someone shows up, we can actually make it happen for them quietly. Someone says there was a table that ate at the first Cyrus, and then I hadn't seen this person for a while. They're from Las Vegas. And he came in about 2 weeks ago. And he's like, you had this mussel soup, this Billy something. I'm like, oh, yeah, Billy B. Yeah. We did have that back then. I didn't say a word to him. And he's like, that was so incredible. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad you liked it back then. And so we went out into the dining room. It was a 6-top. And I said, do we like, and they're like, yeah, we got a chef. And so they brought it out and we put 6 little cups for him. And that one stays. There's a red wine risotto that I've done since I was like 25. It's like a red wine truffled risotto. It's kind of old school, but it's pretty amazing. We do it with the parm froth. That is not on the menu now. It'll probably make a case back in the lounge when the winter comes back with white truffles. And then there's a meishu consomme that we do with a little piece of wagyu. That's pretty magical. Maybe one of the best dishes. That will definitely come back at some point. We've done it here. I've got a team of really creative people that is fun to kind of play mentors. I come up with a lot of the dishes, but so do they. Like our pastry chef, Josh, has gotten really into the fold of doing some savory food. have great ideas that I play editor for. So it's really fun to kind of collect.
And how often if somebody went 1 week, could they come back the next week and there's an entirely different menu or some?
There's an engineering to what we do. Being the 12 people, and we do it 3 times a night. So when you throw off that rhythm, it's huge. And so I'm not one of these chefs that like, you need to just change it to change it. It's like it changes when the season's over. It changes when there's an inspiration or there's a great idea that's been worked out. So you come back in 2 months, you're probably going to see an entirely different menu or very close to it. Maybe a canapé has changed or a menu D. It hasn't changed, but the menu itself, probably every couple months it's changing in its entirety. But no, once a week or something's changing. Right now, there's so much produce popping out here that, yeah, we're probably changing it more in the winter, probably a little bit less.
So you use a lot of local products.
The produce is, there's a few little things we get from Japan, like some seaweeds and things that are just fun. But like there's probably, and during white asparagus season, no one grows white asparagus in California, at least that I've found consistently, because it costs so much labor. So I will buy those. But other than that, yeah, I mean, the produce here there's no place better in the world for produce than Northern California.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a prefix meal. So would you share what the price is?
Yeah, it's $303. It's about 15 courses. Well, that's not true. Everyone likes to say that. We give you 5 canapes when you start: sweet, sour, salt, bitter, umami, that you get a flavor for the taste. Like that's how I write every dish, is based off the 5 tastes that your mouth recognizes. So that's the first thing you get. Well, the first thing you get is a little heirloom tomato gazpacho in the Bubbles Lounge. When you sit down, we give you the 5 canapes. And then in the kitchen table, there is right now, we have a summer squash and saikyo miso dish. Then we have a sashimi. I think this week it's going to be spot prawns because they're back in season with some plums. Then we go to a chawan mushi. We're doing a Australian truffle chicken in the egg chawan mushi, fried chicken karagi style on top of it. And then after that, we have either a hush puppy, green garlic hush puppy, or an adult Oreo foie gras. And then we'll do a little slice of Wagyu off the plancha for everyone. And then you move to the dining room, have a bread and butter course. We make our own bread here. We culture our own butter. And then we move to a salmon dish, a lobster dish, a beef dish, and then there is cheese, pastry, dessert, and then miniardies. And the 5 miniardies are also sweet, sour, salt, bitter umami to kind of bookend the start and end of the journey.
Wow, it sounds just amazing.
It's pretty fun. And there's obviously a vegetarian menu for people that don't eat, who eat vegetarian or who, can't have a course because they don't eat beef or shellfish or something like that.
So you opened about 3 years ago. Is that correct?
We'll be 3. Yeah. So the first Cyrus was 2005 to 12. We closed October 30th, 2012. This one opened 10 years later, September 12th, 2022. And we'll be 3 years on September 12th.
So may I ask what you did in the 10 years in between? I know you were searching for a spot and.
Yeah, it was a lot of that. It was a lot of like stops and starts. I documented in my book, Culinary Leverage. It was a lot of ups and downs because we were finding spots where we had investors, things didn't work. And then we found this spot and started raising money. And this one then ran into COVID about a month after I signed the lease. And that was just a very, very hard. To raise money for restaurants was crazy. But for 10 years, I plotted this one. I also wrote my book, most of it, not all of it. I did a television show. I did Top Chef Masters. I started a dog rescue, green dog rescue project, co-founded it, I should say, with a woman, Colleen, and I consulted for a few restaurants. I opened a couple places in Napa for Jackson Family. I helped a friend, Hollis Silverman, open some places in Washington, D.C. Yeah,
you certainly were busy. You weren't just like sitting around, that's for sure.
I don't sit around well. It's probably something I need to get better at, but I was also, driven. I really wanted to do this restaurant. I wasn't sure right when we closed because I was so broken and so not healed. But then once I got it, it was good and bad. I write about it a lot. This was all I knew how to do, right? Like this was it. And I put all my eggs in one basket and I just really needed to make this happen. And I had a vision and I wanted to change the model. I had great investors who stuck with us for a long time, even when COVID hit. And so this was what I needed to do. So,
well, congratulations. It sounds amazing. And is there anything else you want to add about the journey or how the restaurant might evolve or anything?
we're constantly evolving. There's things. The one thing that stayed true is that I wanted to do this concept. There was a woman, a local reporter, Heather Irwin, who I spoke with before when we closed the first Cyrus. I told her what I wanted to do, and then 10 years later, I gave her a tour right before we opened, and she's like, you know, this is exactly what you told me you were going to do 10 years ago, like to the T. I'm like, yeah, I had a vision, and I was for better or worse, I didn't vary from it. But as things, evolve, when you actually get into it and you change it, or you get operating, I think the realities kind of hit you. And so we have changed since we opened. We used to do the canapes in the Bubbles Lounge. Now we do them in the kitchen because people wanted more time in the kitchen. We didn't do a lot in the dining room. We wanted to kind of keep it more traditional. And then we realized that there was a difference, like there was an energy difference from the kitchen table experience to the dining room experience. We're like, oh, so we need to up the energy out there. So we're out there a little bit more now, doing some things table side, where it was a conscious decision before not to. We do events. Events were always a big part of my business plan because they're like the lifeblood. And we designed this with our architects to be able to do events. We have an amazing outdoor space. So we're actually leaning into that quite a bit because the financial footing that events will give you allows you to do so much more in the dining journey stuff. And there's just a lot of corporations and weddings that want to come out to this part of the country. And so that's a big part. That's how we'll continue to evolve. We're building a hotel. We have 3 rooms up above us, and we're building 3 rooms next door and doing like a club component where we're going to take the vines and have people every year who want to join up, make wine with a winemaker, and have like a club and do club dinners and for the wine club at that point and connect it to the restaurant. So yeah, we're constantly evolving.
Mayonnaise is a simple ingredient with a critical mission in professional kitchens. So why is selecting the right mayonnaise so complex? From extra heavy duty to real super premium, the category terminology causes unnecessary confusion. And the lack of standardization can lead to disappointing results, dissatisfied customers, and costly waste. Visit venturafoods.com/mayo needs to help you find the right mayonnaise for your operation.